Hello and welcome back, anxious gamers, to another fun-filled video game episode. We are your hosts. I'm Chris.
And I'm Josh.
We're going to kick things off with gaming news, what we're currently playing this week, Tears of the Kingdom.
And it's not just Tears of the Kingdom. I have actually finally played something other than Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, okay. And our main topic, how gaming has evolved during our lifetimes, the good and the bad. So, gaming news, Fable 4, Xbox showcase. Did you only catch the Fable 4 trailer, or did you get to watch some of that showcase?
No, I didn't see the showcase, but I saw Richard Ayoade and had to watch the teaser.
Nice.
I got really excited.
Yeah, it was quirky. It wasn't a whole lot of gameplay, but we got kind of an estimated guess on the engine that they're using, how the graphics are somewhat going to look.
Yeah.
What was really cool about this showcase is Phil Spencer, like a few days after the Sony showcase or state of play, was like, hey, Xbox needs to like take a turn for the fans. We're going to do better.
I wonder how hard all of their studios scrambled to put together new trailers.
And honestly, it was a good enough showcase that I turned to my Series S on.
Nice.
The other day.
It had the intended effect.
Yeah, I was impressed with what they showed with Starfield, and I haven't even been following Starfield, but I was like, that actually looks really good.
I did check out some gameplay from Starfield.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And I mean, it's a Game Pass game. Like, if I don't like it, then I didn't spend $70 on it. You know, I paid
that is true.
$15 for Game Pass, and there were a couple things Capcom announced that's pretty cool. But what was really interesting about this showcase is it was all Xbox studios. It wasn't like, you know, and like the stuff they showed with Capcom or Persona, like that's like their specific contract that they have with them. So it was actually like Xbox stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a good showcase. Now, screw Xbox. Let's talk about this upcoming potential Nintendo Direct that's supposed to happen this week or next week.
What do you think it's going to be?
So I think there is going to be a Direct, and I'm not going to give the name of the leaker because I don't want to give him credit if it's not real, but he is a reliable source. Game Explain has a video. They just uploaded it today. But he has a good track record he's predicted Sonic Superstars, Everybody 1-2 Switch, Sambo de Amigo, and the new Armored Core remakes. And he's been spot on with all of those. But he predicted that the Direct will be happening next week, I believe. This week or next week. Mario RPG remake and a new 2D Mario game.
Ooh, I like the sound of both of those. Because as much as I love New Super Mario Bros. U, I am so tired of playing it.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a decade old.
Yeah.
I would love because a lot of people were kind of questioning why the Mario RPG wasn't on the Super Nintendo like subscription service.
Yeah.
So now it makes sense. He also did, and this has kind of been rumors afloat, the GameCube remakes I was talking about, Thousand Year Door, F-Zero, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess. There's a possibility for those games, which makes sense because I really do think we're kind of like, I don't think the Switch is done for. I think the Switch is still going to go, even if there's a Switch 2.
Yeah.
But I do think we are kind of getting to that point where it's like Nintendo may have like one or two big games left and we're moving on. So, yeah.
That's exciting news.
That is exciting news.
If it's real.
If it's real. That's why I'm not saying the name of this person.
Mario RPG remake, like full on remake? Or is this like
what I'm hoping for is, you know, Octopath Traveler Triangle Strategy. It'd be really cool if they remade it in that graphic style. That'd be super cool. He what he did is he quoted that a Super Nintendo game is getting a remake, but then he shared a photo from it was like the Fat Yoshi
Hmm.
from
Hmm.
Mario RPG.
Big Yoshi.
It'd be really cool if they did it like in the Link's Awakening style.
Mm.
I was hoping personally it was going to be a remake of Earthbound. That would have been super cool. Like in the Link's Awakening style. I think that would have been
That
so
would be a
fun.
really good like
Yeah,
style choice.
that would. But yeah, I hope there's a Nintendo Direct. Not that I'm feeling the fatigue of games
Mhm.
because I've been sucked into Tears of the Kingdom. But I am kind of like curious what's going to be coming out within the next few months to the end of the year.
Well,
Um,
it's not Nintendo, but I know what's about to be occupying my time, and that's Final Fantasy 16, which
yeah.
snuck up on me because I remembered seeing the trailer for it. And I was like, I mean, it looks like a Final
Hmm.
Fantasy game. And like I liked 15, it was good, but it didn't blow me away. Um,
Hmm.
and so I only had like a passing interest in 16. I was like, I might get it like later, when it has a price drop or something. But then I played the demo, and like it's a little janky at points. Like the camera
Hmm.
is a little weird, and the motion blur is just
Oh,
it's
okay.
extreme. So like
Yeah.
when you turn the camera, you can't tell what anything is.
Yeah.
Um, but the combat from it. So apparently they brought in the guy who did Devil May Cry.
Yeah. That's what I've heard. Yeah.
Yeah, and the combat is really similar to like Final Fantasy VII and I guess 15,
Hmm.
but just it has a little extra something to it. And now instead of regular summons, you have something called icons that you battle with. And the story was super dark, like Game of Thrones dark.
Yeah.
And it just kept me like as soon as the demo is like the first 2.5 hours ish of the full
Hmm.
game, and your progress carries over to the full game.
Oh,
And
nice.
it was such a super smart decision by them to be like, here's the first little bit of the game to get you basically through the first chapter, and then we're going to rip it away from you, and here you can buy the rest of it if you want. But they were so
Yeah.
confident in that story, and they were
That's
right.
cool. Yeah, no, that sounds really nice. I've seen so I don't have a PS5, but I did watch some of the demo gameplay. Story is definitely dark.
Yeah.
Very very dark. It looks beautiful. I mean, it's like classic Final Fantasy with the modern like Final Fantasy VII remake gameplay. That like kind of close
Right.
hit the
with the
enemies, hack and slash.
with the
Like
very like medieval theme of it, it reminds me more of OG Final Fantasy, like
yeah,
1, 2, or
yeah.
3.
And that's something that I think a lot of Final Fantasy, because like if you really think about it, like you had a few games bring back the medieval style, but like after seven, it was all like super weird. Like even parts in Final Fantasy X that were
Hmm.
like, oh, cool. Like, but yeah, if I can find a PS5 that's maybe used or I don't know. I just don't feel like I'm ready to dish out nearly $500 $600 for a PS5 yet.
I understand.
Yeah.
Although it is a good choice. There's a lot of good games coming.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's definitely a lot of games. Maybe when Ghost of Tsushima 2 comes
Mm,
out, that's been rumored, but maybe I'll do it. But it does look really nice though, the gameplay of 16.
yeah.
And I'm with you. I played 15. I played it for my Xbox, and I liked the story, and I did like the semi-open world
Hmm.
aspect, but the combat was very like you couldn't tell what was going on. Even my wife, like she would watch me play it. She's like, okay, I'm not good at video games, but I can tell you right now, like I don't know how you're fighting with like three other dudes. But from what I've seen with 16, it looks very like it's just done well.
Yeah.
It looks really
It's
really
pretty
good.
it's pretty clear, and it's apparently extremely deep too. People are
Hmm.
finding ways to like chain together these crazy combos, and even just
Yeah.
within the demo.
And I really like what Square has been doing with their demos because, like, Octopath Traveler, Triangle Strategy, Dragon Quest 11 did the same thing with the demos. You could play, like, Dragon Quest 11 was ridiculous. It was like you could get 10 to 12 hours of gameplay,
Out
and
of
then
the
the game
demo?
would stop out of the demo.
Wow.
Yeah. And I did that. And by the time I finished the demo, the game came out. So I bought the game.
Nice.
So Square's really been they've kind of made a really good comeback, I think.
Yeah. I think
Square
it's
and
going to be,
Capcom. So
yeah, hopefully the rest of the game is as good as the first, 2.5 hours.
yeah.
But it sucked me in.
Is it fully open world, or is it just like big environments?
So I think it's probably going to be, it may open up later on in the game, but it's definitely not like 15. This one has a world map similar to the old games, where you don't walk around this when you just choose to move to a different location.
Oh, okay.
So I think it's going to be maybe a little bit more similar to Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Okay. Yeah. That's cool though.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. It comes out, I believe, Friday. So
All right.
the day after this episode is uploaded.
Nice. Yeah.
So that's the next thing. We can move on to, do you have any more news?
No, that's all
Okay.
the news. So yeah, so we'll talk about what we're currently playing. So yeah, Final Fantasy 16.
That's where I was jumping into it. So I did that, and it gave me the itch for Final Fantasy, especially after being gone on that work trip all last week, which is why there was not an episode last week. Sorry about that. I should have posted an update on YouTube.
We'll get better about that. We'll try.
Yeah, we'll communicate more. But it like made me have an itch, and I was like, I just want more Final Fantasy. And I had never played the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and so it was on PS Plus, so I downloaded it. And I think I've put like 18 hours into it over the weekend.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
was
So
a
yeah,
lot.
what do you think of it?
it has parts that are irritating, but they did a really good job, I think, of translating the story from the original into the new one. There's some stuff that I don't remember, but I absolutely loved the wall market segment in the original where you have to cross dress and do your little dance and everything. And the graphics, though, are just incredible. They're Square Enix has this, I don't know how they do this thing with all of their characters' eyes, but the eyes look so real and, I mean, like anime eyes at the same time.
That's all they're known for, people, is like, screw the games. We want them eyeballs to look like pristine.
I mean, but all the textures and everything, the clothing textures, and the one thing that Square Enix has always been good at is food, which is a really strange thing to be really good at. It reminds me of, is it Miyazaki movies where the food just always looks amazing?
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I'm pretty far in. I think I'm on chapter 11 now, and I think there's 18.
So I started playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake as well last week.
Nice.
I maybe about 5 hours in.
Okay.
Definitely going to take a break. I made it. I never completed the original Final Fantasy VII. I made it about halfway through the original, and took a break then because
it is a long one.
It is a long one. I do like it, honestly. Like, I think like you said, it's a beautiful game. The graphics look good. From what I remember, it's still fairly similar. I mean, other than, like it's, hack and slash and graphics. And
did you go with the classic mode where you just give commands, or are you doing both?
I'm doing like how they made, or with not the classic mode.
Nice.
Like, I want to go in, I want to hit people with my Buster Sword. Like,
some of that's pretty satisfying. So that combat system is extremely similar to 16.
Okay.
But 16 is much more fluid. It feels better in general. It's more clear what's happening. And then the addition of the icons and some other abilities that you have, it's just a lot more satisfying. Like, magic is way better in 16.
Okay, yeah. Um, yeah, no, I mean, I liked it. I think the issue I'm having right now is it's kind of like what Breath of the Wild did. Like when Breath of the Wild came out, all these other games, like Final Fantasy VII Remake, like all this stuff was out,
Hmm.
and I played Breath of the Wild, and then I went and played, like, dabbled in those games, and I was like, oh man, like that back to that third person slow cinematic building, like they're just different games, and
Yeah.
that's totally fine. Like I'm not bashing which one's better, but it is hard to be like Link could have just like paraglided over there, or like I could
Yeah.
have just
So
hopped this.
I just did a section where you're like in a, it's like a train yard where like all the trash
Hmm.
trains go.
Yeah.
And you have to do these like crazy running around, moving trains and going up ladders and stairs and all this. And you can see the door that you're trying to get to, and it's over a gap that's like 8 feet.
Yeah.
And these characters are constantly jumping all over the place, doing crazy things, and there's like debris you can't walk past. And I'm like, Tears of the Kingdom would let you just, you
Let
could
you
just
just
climb over
go.
everything. Yeah.
And I get it, it's like level loading and to make the game like you're make it more realistic,
Yeah.
but in real life it'd be like, okay, what can I build to get, like
Can,
nobody wants to
can I
like
just lay
follow
a
a
board
path.
over this gap and
Yeah.
just go on my way? No, you got to spend 2 hours fighting ghosts and turning
Yeah,
the power
it's,
back on.
man, it's
Honestly, I
crazy.
think if Final Fantasy VII Remake was Tears of the Kingdom, the whole game would have taken like 5 minutes.
That's true, you got a point there. Yeah. Yeah, I popped that in, but I dabbled a little bit back into Ghost of Tsushima. I've completed it once, and I played Final Fantasy VII, and then I was like, I'm gonna go back to Tears of the Kingdom.
How
So,
far are you now?
so I am about to do the Zora area.
Okay. Have
So
you done any of the other temples?
just the Rito, yeah.
Man, you are
Um,
really taking your time on this.
I am, yeah. I'm still doing all the shrines, and I've decided to spend a little bit more time in the Sky Islands, which I'm glad I did because
Yeah,
they've
there's
really grown on me
a lot of
a
cool stuff up
lot.
there.
I'm hoping, if there's a potential for DLC, I hope it's all like sky based. That'd be really cool if they did something like a different story arc for
Mm,
that,
like a side
um,
quest thing.
like a side quest thing. But yeah, I just keep slowly coming back to it. Like I'll go and I'll like boot up a game, um and then like I'll play it for 5 minutes, and it's not enough to be like I'm currently playing it this week. Like it's
Yeah.
mainly still just Tears of the Kingdom.
Nice.
So, but like you, I have kind of had the itch to go back and play Final Fantasy. I guess Final Fantasy to me is kind of like how the older Zeldas are to you, where it's like I prefer old school Final
Hmm.
Fantasy. I mean, that was the
Not so much all the
first.
hack and slash and everything.
Yeah, I mean, I love hack and slash games. Don't get me wrong, and I think Final Fantasy is doing a great job of it. Because I the last Final Fantasy I played, well, other than the Seven remake, was the Crisis Core remake or Rebirth,
Hmm.
and that's hack and slash, and I've really enjoyed it. Um, but I do love, like, I don't know, just like the pixelated art, and like even like to 10, like there's just different emotional attachments to those games.
Yeah.
I
10,
think,
I think 10 is still my favorite.
yeah, I think my favorite Final Fantasy would probably be Final Fantasy 2 or 4.
Yeah.
That one, just that was the first one that had like, whoa, that's a dark story and stuff. But
In addition
it.
to that, because I was traveling
Mhm.
and forgot to bring a controller, which was dumb of me. But so I was, browsing around on my phone and I bought Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy.
Okay, what is that?
So you've probably seen it, and a bunch of YouTubers have played it, but it's the one where you're like in an iron pot and all you have is a hammer. And it's either on the computer you use your mouse, but you have a little invisible joystick, you use your thumb. But literally all you can do is just move this hammer and you have to get over these like crazy mountains and other
Wow,
obstacles. And it's an extremely hard game.
I'm gonna have to check
Like
that out when we hang out.
I'm pretty sure that I
I
like
can see your
bruised part
thumb.
of my thumb
Wow.
playing that game because I was like,
What were you playing it on?
my phone.
On your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. Your phone's gonna have to send you a glove to protect your thumb.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of those little electric or the touch gloves.
Yeah.
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 That one.
Yeah.
And I played some Poly Bridge 2. That's always a
Cool.
good time killer.
Oh, I do have a game. Um, I started playing the original Dark Souls. Soul series has been a series that I've like picked up, put down, picked up, put down. Never completed one. Never made it really far.
Wait,
Um,
original Dark Souls or Demon Souls?
not Demon Souls,
Okay.
Dark
The
Souls.
first Dark
So
Souls.
like
Got it.
yeah, the remastered or whatever. But yeah, I made it. I defeated like that little intro guy, and then I defeated the first boss and made it maybe about an hour or two in without dying. So Dead Cells prepared me with the
Nice.
and I think actually Tears of the Kingdom prepared me because I it's so difficult that I'm like I think I have enough confidence to go through Dark Souls, which I still think Dark Souls is way harder.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Yeah, it's way more punishing. But I
because
will say, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom is combat wise somewhat similar,
yeah, it's tough for sure.
especially the
But
battles.
I played Dark Souls online with my friend. He got me about halfway through the campaign or whatever. So I kind of remember where to go, what to do, but still, I mean, it's a difficult game.
Yeah.
But you know, it was kind of one of those things. It's like, I got the itch to do this, and I did it for a few hours, and I'm like, going back to Tears of the Kingdom. So, yeah,
The all absorbing Tears of the Kingdom.
the all-absorbing, yes. But that's all I'm currently playing. Anything else you're playing?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's about it.
All right. Well, let's move on to our main topic: how gaming has evolved during our lifetimes, the good and the bad. So, I have 5 good topics and 3 bad topics.
Okay.
Do we want to start? Well, I want to start with the good. What's the good that you've seen?
I would say my first topic, and this is a double-edged sword. It's both good and bad, but just game difficulty in general.
Okay.
Do you because one of the first games that I had was the original Ninja Turtles on the
Yeah,
NES.
that's so
And you just can't beat it.
stupid hard. Yeah.
Especially not for, a 4 or 5-year-old. There's
Mm-hmm.
no chance. And it does take some of the enjoyment out of it, but at the same time, some of that difficulty is, I mean, it's the challenge is what's fun about it. And you can still find games like that. That's where we get, Dead Cells, Dark Souls,
Yeah.
Super Meat Boy, games like that,
Mhm.
where you just have to have this crazy timing, and it's kind of become a genre of its own. But at the same time, some of the games have just almost gotten, like, especially Nintendo has gotten to a point where it's almost too easy.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
they also some games, and this is a skill of its own, I think it's called like a low floor, high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So to beat the game is you have to have pretty low skill, but to get all of the extras, like the extra, say, moons in Odyssey,
Mm-hmm.
you have to have a lot of skill. So I mean,
Yeah.
it kind of gives you that range. There is a challenge to it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think it's more that the base game, Elden Ring and Dark Souls notwithstanding, it's gotten pretty easy just to make it through games now.
Yeah, I mean, I could definitely see that. Yeah, and I do like that. Like you said, like when I played Odyssey, I was like, wow, I actually beat it because like Mario 64 was difficult. Like
Yeah.
and replaying it again was even more difficult. But that's what I liked about Odyssey. I was like, okay, like I actually beat kind of the base game, and then it's like, you want more? And then it's like, oh god, this is like classic Mario. I don't want to do this. No, that's cool. That's a really cool topic to talk about, actually, the
Yeah.
difficulty, because yeah, there are some games that just were brutally hard because they were poorly made. So,
But not even that. Just think Mario, like the de
Mhm.
facto platformer, the original.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
first, 2, 3 levels are fine. and then it ramps up full on difficulty until you're at the end, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it's crazy.
Well, I mean, dude, like, I mean, Majora's Mask. Like, we've said it
Yeah,
multiple times. It's like, oh my God, like, I can't believe I sat glued. And then I went and played Ocarina of Time, and I'm like, oh, this is like butter. You
yeah.
know, this is what I wanted in a game.
But even Ocarina of Time, like the water temple.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean, everybody got stuck on that one trying to find that
Hmm.
last key.
Yeah.
And
Um,
I think it's in a middle area, but the feeling of accomplishment just doesn't feel as strong to me now as it used to.
okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of a double edged sword for me, too, because, like, when I was going through my whole like fiasco of like the PS4, Xbox One, I
Mhm.
felt like, you know, yeah, games have really moved over to like the graphical side of things. So, like when I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, that felt too easy for me. I was like, okay, I want challenge, so I went back to Tears of the Kingdom
Yeah.
or Dark Souls, which is crazy because I'm not a hard gamer. Like I don't need crazy difficulty, but I agree with you. Yeah, like I when I took down that boss, my wife was like, "Dude, hell yeah, keep going," you
Yeah.
know? And like but when I play Halo, she's like, "Oh, you're just like blowing up." Like I
Everybody.
mean, it's
Yeah.
fun. I mean, she
Yeah.
likes
Yeah.
Halo, but um
Yeah.
yeah, I
That's
think
actually a
it's just
good
a mood.
parallel because the original Final Fantasy VII, I died 1,000 times
Mhm.
because I had to
Mhm.
go grind, level up. And I mean, that's awesome. That's another double edged sword on its own.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's still like I finally would beat this boss that I had to grind for hours to get strong enough to kill it. And in this one, I'm 18 hours in. I'm most of the way done with the game, and I just died for the first time. And it was a stupid accident. I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. It's almost more enjoyable. It's like, oh, okay, I don't have to worry about like have that stress, you know?
Hmm.
But there is that little part of me that's like every time I replay Ocarina, I'm like, all right, I'm gonna like F this water temple up. Like I'm gonna like I'm like, I feel so confident, and then I get about 10 minutes in and I'm like, where's that extra key? You know, where's
It's under
that?
the floor in the central pillar.
Yes, it's always that key. Um, I guess my first good topic is just being alive to watch the growth of graphics and hardware.
Oh, that's a cool one.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, I started with the N64 and then I went back or I went N64, Game Boy Color, and then GameCube. And then I went back and played like all the original consoles,
Yeah.
including Sega, Atari. Um, but just like the fact that we've got to live through like the Wii, you know, like remember how crazy it was when the Wii came out to like the 360 just dominating
Yeah.
like online gameplay. And I mean, even now, like the PS5 is, I mean, it felt like holding a gem or like you were a god if you had a PS5 during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Um, but like, I just, the graphics and hardware are a double-edged sword because that's actually one of my bad topics. But going from like polygon 16-bit 8-bit graphics
Hmm.
to 4K or cell shaded like Tears of the Kingdom, it's just really really crazy that we've
And
got to live this long and see it.
yeah, and
So
it's getting even crazier with Unreal Engine 5 because
mhm.
of the system where the way that they can handle models, because a lot of the realistic parts of games that are coming in are photo scanned assets. And so basically they set up a rig, they take pictures all the way around an object, or in some cases they have basically a special thing with it's got like dozens of cameras
Mhm.
all over. And they can put a person, they can put a chair or a computer, whatever they want. And it like almost instantly have an extremely highly detailed model. But previously in the past, you would have to take that and then rebuild the model for games. You
Oh,
don't have
okay.
to do that anymore. You can just put the asset directly in,
Mhm.
and Unreal Engine 5 will dynamically change the mesh depending on, like how far away you are from it. Like it's all done for you now.
Yeah.
So you can take these just massively big. I think I downloaded an asset a while back when I was playing with UE5. It was like 13 or 14 gigs for one model, and
Jeez.
you can drop in 500 of them if you want.
Wow.
And like absolutely zero chance any other engine or any console or computer out there could run that, but Unreal Engine 5 makes it so that you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
That's
absolutely
really
insane.
cool.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I would say it's definitely a good topic, but this is a funny story. So when we had everybody over for, why did we have her? Oh, it was for my son's birthday.
Hmm.
Birthdays, we did a joint birthday party. But we had my wife's great aunt was here, and she's, early 80s, I think.
Hmm.
And she's sitting on the couch, and I'm playing Tears of the Kingdom. And she's like really Cajun. She's like, why do you want to control these monkeys? Like she thought, I guess because of the cartoon graphics, they looked like monkeys to her. And I was trying to explain, I'm like, I mean, it's to me, this is the same as watching a movie or, reading a book. And she's like, what kind of books you reading that got monkeys?
Oh my god.
But but I was like trying to explain to her. So I even booted up The Last of Us.
Oh,
And
nice.
I just want you to see like this, like Tears of the Kingdom is one side of the coin, but there are other, the other side of the coin are these like movie quality, heavy story, great voice acting, great physical acting. She
Hmm.
still didn't quite get it because she's like, but it's all cartoon. And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, we're not controlling live people here. But at some point, that is going to be indistinguishable. But the evolution of the medium as a whole from a toy, which
Hmm.
is what she still thinks they are, to like full on art. Like
Yeah.
it rivals movies, TV, books, everything else. And it's
Yeah.
just crazy to me to see games become so big and
Hmm.
so like did you see that the budget for Starfield is bigger than GTA 5, Red Dead, and there was one more combined? I think it might have been Witcher 3.
Yeah. We'll see how it runs. We'll see.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be buggy as can be at launch,
We'll
but
see if it's gonna be immaculate, Bethesda buddies.
it won't be.
Let's
They do not have the track record for that.
yeah, yeah. Um I think my next favorite topic, the good, demos, refunds, and digital. So I
Mm.
love the fact that games have demos now, which, during our lifetime, sometimes you were lucky if you could play a demo at a kiosk, at a Toys R Us or a Kmart,
You want to
sometime or Walmart.
the
Um,
Oh, I played lots of demos. I still have demos.
yeah,
They
and like
came on
so,
demo discs for those of you that are younger. In fact, I have one.
mhm.
I'll show it to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Here's two right here for the PS2. These are called jam packs,
hmm,
and you could get them as part of like PlayStation Magazine. This one was specifically from PlayStation Underground. I'll
yeah.
show you how old these are. This one cost me $8. I don't know how much this one cost, but this one has Jack and Daxter, Frequency, Hot Shots Golf 3, Parappa the Rapper 2,
Nice.
Crash Bandicoot The Wrath of Cortex, Time Splitters, that's 2, that was a good one. Half-Life. Actually, Half-Life was just a trailer, I believe.
Hmm.
No, you could play that one. The videos were SOCOM and Kingdom Hearts, back when Sora
Nice.
had black hair.
That's crazy, man.
And then this one has a demo of Final Fantasy X,
Hmm.
Tony Hawk 3, Jack and Daxter, Kinetica. Man, SSX Tricky. So this is how I
Good
used to get my
stuff.
demos.
Yeah.
You had to pay for them,
Hmm.
and they were super limited. It was like 10, 15 minutes each.
Yeah. My demos were renting games. I mean, and like you, being able to do a kiosk or find a disc. And let me clarify. It's just so much easier to get demos now. Now, not every game has a demo, but there are cheap ways to try games. Game Pass,
Yeah.
PlayStation Online. I mean, I paid, I think, $17, and I'm able to stream all the PlayStation games that I want right then, right now. So that kind of ties into like the digital side of things, like being able to get games digitally, being able to try it when you want, where you want, and also the refunds are nice too. Like there's been multiple times I've gotten Game Pass, didn't care for what was on it. I got my $16 back.
Yeah.
Also, too, like the Steam return policy and
Hmm.
Xbox return policy is really well done. Like,
Yeah.
I think with Xbox, and it may be the same with Steam, but like if you play a game under 2 hours that
That's
you
it.
paid, yeah,
Yeah.
like you can return it.
And you can
So
usually find out. And usually, I mean, it's not like, oh, the game didn't run. It's, I just didn't like the game.
yeah. So in our era, if you are like
If you
like
opened the game,
us,
that was
yeah, you
yours.
opened a game, you were stuck with it. And sometimes that was a good thing because there were a lot of games that may have gotten negative reviews that I didn't know about, but I actually enjoyed it and kind of like overlooked what people thought. But yeah, no, like it really sucked when you were super excited about a game, you paid 40 30 40 bucks for it and you couldn't return it. You
Yep.
were stuck with it and you'd had to trade it in and let GameStop give you $2 for it.
Right. Yeah.
So
Like, I just bought this game. It's been run one
yeah.
time. How did it lose 98% of its value?
Yeah. But yeah, so that was my other good topic there.
Nice. Yeah. And that one also ties into just outside of demos and things like that. You can just watch people play parts of the game. You can go watch
Hmm.
somebody play at the gameplay and see if you're going to like it or not.
Yeah.
So even outside of demos, if you just wait, a couple of days after launch, you can see like, oh, how's this doing? And the internet is not going to, hide bugs or anything game breaking or terrible about a game. So you're going to know within a couple of days, which is why generally I don't recommend pre-ordering.
Hmm.
Generally, I did just do that with Final Fantasy 16, but the demo reassured me everything was going to be okay.
Yeah, but like, it's Final Fantasy. It's just like I pre-ordered Tears of the Kingdom, right? And
Yeah,
and
because
in this day and age, you kind of have to pre-order with certain things because of the whole pandemic and the shortage and scalpers and stuff.
well, but that's
It's
another thing. We don't have to worry about shortages of digital products.
of digital, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
It's
actually haven't run into an issue of not being able to find a physical copy in a long time because most people, it's
mhm,
split. I mean, about half and half, I think, digital and
mhm.
physical.
I think games, yes, but still, like the Tears of the Kingdom amiibo, the
Yeah, that
controller,
is.
um, the console has been they pumped out which that's the good thing of Nintendo. It's older hardware, so they can pump out as much as they want.
Yeah.
But I still have yet to at my Target, Walmart, and Best Buy see a PS5 physically. I've
I've
seen
seen it a few
one.
times.
Yeah, I've seen one or two at like the movie trading I go to, but yeah, I they're in stock. I know I could get one, but still, like, it's crazy. Like
Yeah,
that.
that we're 2 years in and it's
Mhm.
still kind of like you get a little excited when you see one. You're like, oh, hey, there's a PS5.
Yeah, yeah. But I'll get to that topic because that's actually in my bad side. It's on the
Mm.
bad side. A couple other good topics, real quick. Updates and patches. Those are nice.
I'm going to call that one a
Sometime
double edged sword, too.
that one is a double-edged sword. I would say it does give some rough games a good second life or a second chance, and it kind of like revalues the game that you bought.
Right. Like No
Um,
Man's Sky.
yeah, No Man's Sky is great now. Like
That's a Yeah, it's
I
like the
think
best example possible of
yeah.
a game really turning itself around.
Hmm. And it. I'm not even going to compare it to Starfield. I don't even want to start that topic. But yeah. But then some games just don't do it right. You wait all
Yeah.
this time, you get an update or a patch, and it's like, okay, like Skyrim. I love Skyrim, and it's a great game, and it's gotten tons of updates, but it's still rough around the edges. So,
Yeah.
um,
So that was another thing that impressed me about Final Fantasy 16 is there was supposed to be no day one patch.
mhm.
Um, and then they released the demo. People had a couple of minor complaints about like the camera controls and motion blurs, just some small things like that. So they're releasing, I think it's like a 300 megabyte patch day one now,
Yeah, I saw that.
which is relative to normal day one patches, which are usually multiple gigabytes. Like that
Yeah,
is nothing.
I think there's always going to be something wrong, especially in this day and age. Like, I mean, with the technology and everything. Like, I mean, Tears of the Kingdom, which some of you guys didn't update, which I am so pissed that I didn't, or I updated or had automatic updating because that duplication glitch was fire. But
There is a new one.
is there? Because I tried a new one and it didn't work.
Was it the one at the entrance to the depths?
No, I haven't done that one yet.
Okay, so I'm just gonna hop into this real quick and give a gist of it.
Yes.
So basically, there's a loading zone between the depths and the overworld,
Uh huh.
and there's a thing you can do where you basically attach a whatever weapon you want to duplicate to an arrow, and I think it's best to do it with like the Lionel bow that can shoot 5 arrows at once,
Mm.
because it'll shoot 5 copies of the object. But if you shoot it up and out the hole at the loading zone, they just stop right at the loading zone. And then when you shoot a few, you walk up to the loading zone, the arrows are gone, but the objects are still just hanging in the air, and then they all fall down and you collect them.
That sounds so much more tedious, but
It
I
is.
love
It's
the
yeah,
fact that you can get five like right then and there.
yeah.
Um, yeah, no, that's cool. I did complete the Poe quest though, and I
Oh,
can
good.
buy my weapons now, so that's kind of nice. Variety in gaming. So obviously, this is kind of common sense because like we didn't have this tech growing up. So, you had like your typical maybe a shooter here and there, maybe third person, action adventure, RPG, all that. But like look at just like all of the, and I'm going to tie my last good topic in with this, like indie opportunities, indie games and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Just the variety. I mean, you got Souls like, roguelike, action adventure, RPG, JRP, like just everything is
Yeah,
at
all
our
the
fingertips
indie
now.
city builders. And you want to know the
Yeah.
game? This is kind of off topic,
Hmm.
but I'm surprised that nobody has tried to challenge The Sims yet. Why is
Hmm.
Sims the only Sims?
Got a point.
That's a
I was
for
just talking to a student about The Sims today.
Yeah, yeah. For any of you developers out there, if you ever find this video, that's an open market because everybody's mad at The Sims.
Yeah. You got a good point. Maybe I don't know. Yeah. They don't want to get like backlash or something, but
I mean, City Skylines came in and destroyed Sim City.
that's going to be a Game Pass game as well.
Skylines 2?
Hmm.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay.
I believe it is, but
Like a day
yeah,
one. I'm gonna have
yeah.
to check it out because I'm excited about that one.
Try it on Game Pass. Day one on Game Pass. Um, yeah, those are all my good topics. Do you have anything else to add to it?
I'll go back to the digital thing or the updates and patches thing because this is I'm gonna say bad because
Hmm.
any one of these games behind me, I can pop in a console now. It's been 20 years, almost
Hmm.
30 for some of them, and they still play just fine. You can
Hmm.
beat the whole game. There's no glitches. I'm worried about the longevity of a lot of the games that we play now,
Hmm.
especially the ones that needed these massive day one patches to even run properly. Because in 20, 30 years, what if I want to boot up my PS5 and you know play Final Fantasy 15 or 7 remake or whatever, and
Hmm.
I'm unable to because it required. I don't know if those actually required any day one patches. Square Enix is usually pretty good about that. But No Man's Sky, like you can't just pop it in and play it. And I think that's my other issue with chronically online games.
Hmm.
Like, there's no reason for a single player game to require an online connection, and Ubisoft and EA are both really bad about that.
Well, let's hop into that because that's actually my first bad topic is the internet connection and online play slash microtransactions. So yeah, it does devalue the game and it does make, yeah, like in 20 years, like you said, but like I was playing, I am a huge, if you're a fan of old Zelda, and I've talked about this before and want hack and slash God of War Castlevania gameplay, play Darksiders. I'm a huge
Oh
Darksiders
yeah,
fan.
that's a good one.
But I play them on my Switch, which, like, yeah, it's not as great as PlayStation or Xbox, but I just prefer them on there.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going through Darksiders 2, and there's literally an area that needs a patch, and it's not going to get done because they're done with that game. And so I had to get on Reddit and or YouTube and look up how to defeat this boss. And it was like, yeah, just like stand in this corner of the level, don't
Yep.
go over here. And that was a game that had a lot of technical issues, and they fixed most of it. Still a great game. I know how to beat it now, but yeah, it's like, man, they're never going to fix that.
Yeah, because
So,
there was a quote by Shigeru Miyamoto a long time ago that a delayed game is eventually good, but a bad game is always bad. And
mhm.
that's not necessarily true anymore unless you think about not being able to update the game.
Think of people with Cyberpunk
Right.
in
Which
30 or 40 years. What if
I
they can't?
well that's another one because the whole game wasn't on the disc. And that's
Mhm.
another issue. We're going to need some sort of larger format to continue playing these games, but it's almost like the industry as a whole is going a direction where you don't own the game anymore. And so
Mhm.
the disc is just a way to say, hey, I paid money to be able to play it. It's because you still have to download it
Yeah.
from their servers. And the day that, and we've seen this happen on Steam, they can just pull a game out of your library. Like you bought it, you own
Mhm.
it on Steam, and it'll just disappear because they don't want it on there anymore. It happened, I think,
They
with the
don't
Grand
want it
Theft
on there
Auto.
anymore, or they didn't renew the licensing. Like, that was a huge thing, I believe, in Europe. Several people lost their digital formats of movies because the
Mm,
company didn't renew the licensing.
yeah,
And that's why you don't see a lot of these games coming to the online services, because Nintendo, Xbox, PlayStation hasn't renewed the licenses for those. Um, so yeah, I mean, that kind of ties back into one of our past episodes, the physical versus digital
hmm,
media. Like, I personally, I don't own a single PlayStation or Xbox disc. I went digital because PlayStation and Xbox do a better job about their digital storefronts than I think Nintendo does.
hmm,
Um, but I will buy. I'm a mix with Nintendo. Some games I have digital, some I have physical. But a majority of the physical games that I bought for my Switch, the game is on the cartridge itself.
right.
There are a few games that do require an update, but like, I remember I bought Witcher 3 before the update, and I had the whole Witcher 3 game in the cartridge. It didn't look great. There were issues, but I had the game
It
and it
is playable
played.
though. Yeah.
It is playable. The same was with Darksiders 1, 2, and 3. All three of those games instantly was going in, as of it would take hours to download on my PS3.
Yeah.
Um, I do think we still live in the digital age, and it's only going to get bigger, better, maybe slightly worse. I think cloud gaming is
Bigger,
going to have.
better, and slightly worse.
Yeah.
It's going to get better, but it's also going to get worse.
I do think cloud gaming is eventually going to take over. And
Yeah.
yes, even if it is cloud, I'm sure that they'll find a way to do some form of physical media. Like, people bash cloud gaming, but when you're buying a Sony or an Xbox disc and you only have half the game on that disc, you're playing the rest of the game downloaded from your internet. Now, you don't have to have an internet connection, which is the difference between cloud gaming, but still, you had to have some form of internet to get that game onto your console.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that anymore, it's like you're out of luck.
I think the rare instances of that are things like, I believe Red Dead Redemption did it too. It had two
Mm-hmm.
discs. It had a data disc and then the game disc. So I think the majority of the game was on that one. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
there's Call of Duty is bad about this. There's no way
Mm-hmm.
those games are going to be playable in the future. Like now, you can
Yeah.
still go back and install Call of Duty 2 or any of those, and they'll run.
Mm-hmm.
They won't. They may not have multiplayer, but the single player campaign will run.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I'm sure that there's a lot of internet archiving nerds out there that are going to find ways around this.
Oh
Like
yeah. I mean,
they'll
dude,
have a
ROMs.
modified copy of it. Yeah, they'll be like, "This is the game plus all the patches, and we've preserved it."
Mm-hmm.
So that'll probably end up happening. I'm just curious about when we're going to end up with like PS4, PS5 emulators on PC. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah. That will be, yeah. But and then the whole microtransactions things, like, yeah, like, I get it. I'll buy DLC, or sometimes DLC is free. Um and you know, if you love a game, I'm not bashing you for buying, you know, microtransactions or whatever. I mean, I've bought Minecraft coins before to
Yeah.
get skin packs and everything. Um, but it is a nuisance when you have to like constantly get reminded, hey, if you spend X amount of money, you can enjoy the game more. If you
Hmm.
spend this, you can enjoy the game more. And it's like, I don't want that.
So that's the main reason that I was hesitant to let my kids play Roblox.
Hmm.
It is so bad about that. You miss tap on the screen and the store is coming up and it wants you to spend Robux, and it constantly bombards you with, hey, spend money and you can skip this level, or you can have these power ups, or
Yeah.
you can have this cool armor or cosmetic or whatever. And I understand because Roblox is a free platform.
Hmm.
And so are games like Fortnite and all of that. And nothing
Hmm.
like, at least in those, spending money is not going to impact your game. You can't
Yeah.
be better at it by spending money.
Hmm.
You can look cooler,
Yeah.
but that's
Yeah.
about it. And so
And I
that,
think that is actually a healthy mindset to have, is like, yeah, like, I mean, it was with like growing up playing Halo, you know, you had the base game, you had some maps, you could hop into Slayer, but then they made map packs and they
mhm,
made, you know, cosmetics and everything later on. And it doesn't make you a better player.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
And there's games like Witcher 3, the Blood and Wine expansion, absolutely worth the money
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
it's kind of like the WoW, like World of Warcraft with all of its expansion packs. Like if you paid money back in the day, you knew you were getting at least a good chunk of content.
Hmm.
And now you've got season passes on Call of Duty, and you might get, an extra couple maps and some operators and guns. And
Yeah, same with Halo, like, you know, Infinite. It's gotten better. They've done some updates. They added infection recently, but it's like, you know, you get cutscenes. You get
mhm.
cutscenes of the story. It's like, no, I want to play this story. Put me in that Spartan's
See,
armor. Let
and
me
I
do
I
that.
also have more of a problem with that because you already paid full price for a game. In this case,
Hmm.
70. And then they still want you to spend, $20-$30 a year or a season to get whatever new season it is.
Hmm.
And that's the part that just drives me insane.
And that kind of bothers me too. Like, I mean, I bought the Champions Ballad 1 and 2 for Zelda, but at the end of the day, it's like it's Nintendo. They have so much money. They made so much money from Breath of the Wild. The DLC should have been free. Like, honestly,
Right.
like and it's never going to be free. Like, I get it. You have to pay your workers and developers and stuff, but it's like, come on, you're Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like,
I think I read somewhere, this is a really old stat, but there was something like they could lose money every year
mhm.
for 100 years and still operate.
Yeah, and still operate. They have actually tied in several of the DLC packs to the online expansion, though, or the expansion pack. So if you buy the Nintendo expansion pack, you'll get N64 games, I think Sega Genesis, Game Boy Advance, but you get Splatoon,
Mhm.
2 DLC, Happy Home, whatever, Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
So that is kind of nice. That saves you 20-30 bucks for DLC.
Yeah. But it
Um,
is just this weird nickel and diming culture that started happening in gaming that drives me insane. Like, can you imagine if you were watching a movie and it's like, I don't know, pay more for special features or to have this scene added back in?
I
Like, you
mean,
pay this amount, you get a 45-minute movie, or you pay a little more and then you get the full hour and a half.
yeah, I mean, you kind of do that with director's cuts, though. You know, like
I
I
mean, I
bought
guess
all
I
the
guess
Lord
that is true. There is
I
like
bought
Lord of the
all the
Rings
Lord of the
extended.
Rings movies, and then I
Yeah.
bought all of them again for the director's
Extended.
cuts. And then I bought them all again for 4K. So they are doing it.
That is true, but it's not like
I get what
the
you're saying,
yeah,
though.
like the
Like, you
base
can watch
product
half
doesn't
the like a
change.
demo of a movie. Like, here, watch 30 minutes, and if you like it, pay us more money, and
Yeah, I
then
guess I guess a better example would be um well, they did that too. You paid more for high definition. I was about to
we've been
say,
screwed all over.
man, all of it. They just hit it better in movies.
Yeah.
But I was
Well,
going
it's
to,
just yeah.
as a
Sorry.
dumb example, I was going to say, you get the version where the CG is not as good in Star Wars, and then you pay more money and you get the version where it's better.
Yeah. No, I get you. I get
You can
you.
change Han
Um,
Solo's outfit.
nice.
They're gonna steal my ideas now. Movies with
They
interchangeable
are. They're
outfits.
gonna
Dang
find
it.
anxious gamers on YouTube and
Yeah,
be
they're
like,
gonna find a
that
way. They're
guy.
gonna find a way to use AI to allow people to customize movies.
Oh God, man. So I have two more bad topics, and they tie together.
Okay.
Constant hardware and storage, and then hardware physical shortages.
Mm.
So I'm all for new hardware. I'm all for, getting the latest, newest console from my favorite companies, whatever. But when it was like Xbox One, Xbox One S, Xbox One X, same with PlayStation, like pumping out new hardware constantly and then busting out these brand new systems, and
Mm.
then like, I get it, the pandemic caused shortages, the pandemic screwed everything up, but at the end of the day, it's like we're still 2 years in, and we're getting games, but I don't think we're not getting them at the pace that we were a few years ago. And I think it's just because developers can and can't keep up with tech
Yeah, I mean, it's
evolving.
just the complexity of games has just gone
Hmm.
so far
Yeah.
from how it used to be. I always think about, like I would watch documentaries on how older games are made, some of the tricks that
Hmm.
they used, but things like the original Mario were made, I think it's by like 12 people,
Hmm.
something like that.
Yeah.
And now there's just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds on staff.
I mean, Halo 1 was 30 or 40 people in
Yep.
Bungie. Like, and I get it. Yes, we need more people. We need more developers. But it's one of those things where it's almost too much, And that's why I've been iffy about buying a PlayStation at launch, because like I bought the PS4 at launch and I took it back because there was just nothing. Like there were a few games, but it was like, okay, you have this really neat console that can boost all this stuff.
Mm.
But Ghost of Tsushima came out like 6 or 7 years later,
Yeah.
and it's like, God, like I don't want to play, you know what I
So
mean? Like,
that's kind of how I felt like the PS5 was.
mm-hmm.
So I had looked because I had gotten that pre-order,
Yeah.
and my nephew was unable to get one, and so I made a deal with my sister. I'm like, I'll give you this one, just pay me back for that. And then I was like, I can wait, I'll be fine. But then after that, I was kind of looking at like the lineup, and I was like, I don't know what I would have played anyways. I mean, there was Assassin's Creed, which I'm burnt out on, and there was a few other launch titles. I think like Deathloop and a few others, but I was like, there's just nothing there that I couldn't get on my PC at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't until a lot of the bigger first party games started coming out.
Yeah. And like I partially blame the pandemic, but at the same time it's just they've always done that. Like even with the PS3, like the PS3 had a few games, but like it's never been like I think, and I'm not saying this cuz I'm a Nintendo fanboy, but I think Nintendo's always done the best with, I mean, the
Like
Switch
launch
launched with
titles.
Breath of the Wild.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy. The Wii launched with Twilight Princess, Wii Sports. The Wii U, yes, we don't talk about it a lot, but it launched with like, I'm gonna look it up real quick. It was a lot of games. Yeah, it launched with like 40 something games.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and some of them were newer games. Some of them were games that were on past hardware, but still, like as a Nintendo fan, to have Assassin's Creed on your system was really cool.
Yep.
It had Black Ops 2. I mean, like it was neat, Um, I yeah, I just I feel like if, let's say the pandemic didn't happen, right? And let's say that Sony and Microsoft focused on the One X and the PS4 Pro a little bit longer. I think if the PS5 launched with God of War Ragnarok or launched with
Mm.
Final Fantasy 16, I would have bought one.
Yeah.
Um,
Because, well,
be,
God of War Ragnarok is when I bought mine. That was the
yeah,
first game
yeah,
that I was like, okay, well, I have to go get a PS5 for that. So I bought
yeah,
the bundle.
yeah, and it just it like scars me every 6 or 7 years because I'm like, it's the same business practice of like, okay, cool, you showed a really cool flashy system. What can I play on it? Astro's Playroom is cool, but like,
How long can you play it?
how long can I
Yeah.
play that?
So I think that's the trick though, because Nintendo is really good at having games that you can get a lot out of for a long time. Like the
Mhm,
value to cost ratio is
mhm.
super high.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
PlayStation tends to launch with story-based games,
Hmm.
and they're either artificially inflated, a la Assassin's Creed,
Hmm.
where you just have a ton of collectibles and other junk that's just not as much fun. It
Hmm.
just feels grindy. Or it's just a story heavy game that may take 20, 30 hours. And like once you're done with it, that's kind of it. You
Yeah.
don't generally keep playing that same game. Whereas
Hmm.
games like Odyssey or Tears of the Kingdom or Breath of the Wild, they have a lot of longevity.
Yeah. And I mean there are third party games that I really still enjoy playing. Like I still enjoy hopping on Borderlands or
Mm-hmm.
Darksiders or Witcher, hopping into Witcher sometimes. Like
Yeah, I
there
played that one.
are other really good games that you can get for these systems. And I'm really trying not to sound like a fanboy here, but like it is
You're
kind of
failing.
like yeah, it is one of those things though where it's like I don't know. I just like I just like having something different
Mm-hmm.
with it. Like, yeah, I like the graphics, I like the games. That's all cool and stuff, but like I want something that others can experience with me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that Nintendo kind of does better, I think, than I mean, Astro Playroom tried. And then they made that terrible like it was okay, that like Smash Bros clone. Sony Star All
Oh, yeah.
Stars, I mean,
Well, you
PlayStation
don't think
Move.
it dethroned Smash Brothers?
Maybe if they made it for the PlayStation Move, that would have been
Yeah.
great. But
Uh,
anyways, do you have anything
I
else?
have a random thought.
Uh-huh.
Had Superman 64 been in the era of patches, would it have gotten better?
I'm really curious if somebody has remade that game. If somebody has remade it on YouTube or like done something like a YouTube short of like this is how Superman 64 should have been,
Yeah.
let us know in the
I am
comments,
curious about
please.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Somebody
because
I fixed Superman 64.
yeah,
Somebody needs to do that. Although it could have been, I mean, it wasn't that fun of a game, the parts you could play anyways. It was kind of like it's like the flying missions in Tears of the Kingdom where you jump through the rings. That's what it felt like.
yeah, yeah. No, no, no. I know what you're talking about. Do you think Nintendo will troll us and put it on the online
No, absolutely not.
service? I don't know.
Absolutely not.
I feel like they would do something stupid like
Maybe on April Fools they'll announce it next year.
yeah.
Be like, we're bringing Superman 64 to Switch Online,
God, people would boycott Nintendo. They would like,
and bringing ET to the
oh
NES.
no. Uh,
Although was he ET may have been an Atari game.
mhm,
I don't remember. That
yeah.
was a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean that's all that I really have topic wise.
Nice.
The
So in
good and the
conclusion,
bad.
almost every single one of these were both good and bad in some way.
I yeah
So like you
yeah
said
and
earlier, we're better off and worse off at the same time.
yeah yeah very nice.
Looking
Well,
forward to how much better and how much worse it can get.
I am really curious. Just like I mean, we never know what the next thing is, right? I mean, we
I
know
think it's
Project Q is a thing. I'm curious to see Sony's take on remote play because if it They may be onto something,
It
you
has to
know.
be. I mean, for them to release it as a product when they have it on phones, tablets, computers, TVs, wherever else you want to play,
Mm.
for them to make a dedicated device for it, that's the part that I'm interested about.
See, but they like did that with the Vita 2, and the Vita 2 didn't do
It
hot.
didn't do well, but it was a great system.
But like, why didn't it do well?
That's a
I
good
mean,
question.
we had the 3DS, you know,
Yeah.
but like, why though?
It's probably more of the I feel like back in the day of, DS, Game Boy Advance, all of that, a lot of the games were geared more toward younger players,
Hmm.
while the PlayStation was geared at, teenagers and adults.
Hmm.
And at the time, I just don't think this is just my uneducated opinion on this, my speculation. I would say that that target audience at the time hadn't fully picked up on the power of being able to take your games with you. Because you
Yeah.
do see, like, there's a photo out there somewhere. Daniel Craig is shooting, I think it's like Casino Royale or Quantum of Solace, and he's playing, I think, a PSP. And so, I mean, some people knew about it and loved it, but
Hmm.
it just now, I think the handheld market is getting a lot bigger for our age group. And so being able to play higher end games and all of that on the go is a much better idea now.
Hmm.
I think they were ahead of their time on the PSP and the PS Vita for that market.
Yeah.
That's my speculation.
It's funny. A lot of people, when the Switch came out, they were like, the PS Vita can output games better and can do this and that. I'm like, yeah, but it doesn't have the games that are worth
Yeah.
going back to. You know, I mean, there are some great PSP and PS Vita games.
And then you
Um,
had the weird things on both of those, the weird discs, the weird memory sticks.
yeah,
It was all
yeah.
this weird proprietary hardware
Hmm.
and accessories. And I don't know. I think that was a barrier to entry there. Because, yeah, you
Yeah,
could buy the system, but then you had to buy all these other things.
yeah.
And with it being cloud only for Project Q, I could see myself, depending on the price point, getting one to just go sit and play in bed on this thing instead of, whipping out the iPad or playing it on my phone.
I wanna look at something real quick, because I've been reading up on it, and this is the After Hour podcast. No,
Let me change
uh,
both of my lights to blue.
yeah, both of them to blue. Um, I want to look at the specs because I read somewhere that that actually looks really cool.
It's very blue.
Um, so in the press release, this is what Project Q is, and from what I think I might be misinterpreting it, but Project Q is a device with an 8-inch screen that lets you play PlayStation 5 games using Sony's Remote Play system, streaming them from your PS5 over Wi Fi when you're away from your TV.
Mhm.
So, a lot of people are speculating that there's a possibility that it's like a Wii U gamepad and it's not going to be a full blown, like, you can take it. I think it's going to be a full blown, like, I could
Yeah,
be like, if my PS5 was at your house right now, which you're a few hours away, I could play the games with Project Q here.
I mean,
Um,
yeah, it would be dumb of them to cripple that functionality and
yeah.
like make it an in-house only thing.
I think I think it's gonna flop. I don't think it's gonna like flop, but I do think it's gonna flop because you have to have a PS5 for it. I
Mm,
think if they had an app with my remote play on my backbone, like remote play, yes, I have to have a Series S.
yeah.
But there's Game Pass, you know? And I think if Sony could make a subscription service,
So
which is kind of dumb at this point, they need
they had
to,
that.
yeah.
There was a while.
Now, PS
PlayStation. I
Now,
think
right?
it was. I mean, it was PS Now, and then I guess
Hmm.
they rebranded it. But I could play all of the games on that service on my computer.
Yeah.
All of it was streamed, or you could stream everything on there. So I wonder if that's a possibility that if you have PS Plus, some of them you could just stream from their servers. And I imagine that's the case.
Because I would possibly get that over a PS5 if it was like it's not going to
Yeah.
be this, but if it was like 200, 250, maybe,
You
just
could
to,
you could at least stream PS2, PS3, and probably quite a few of the PS4 games.
mhm,
I don't know about PS5, but
yeah. But I am curious to see like if it's actually going to, I don't know. Yeah.
because I'm trying to think about it from a what does this get them standpoint.
Hmm.
Because Sony has never, their money's not off the hardware. None of the big console people are. That they don't get their money from that. They get their money from all the software.
Hmm.
And I'm trying to think of what they get out of this. And the only thing I can think of is getting more people to pay for PlayStation Plus. That's the
I
only
think
business
so.
decision I can think of. And in that case, you may not necessarily need to have one of the consoles. You're limited, obviously, on what games you can play.
Yeah. I think Sony has done what Sony has done in the past where they think they've revolutionized with something and they haven't. I feel like it's just a Switch competitor. I feel like it's a Switch and an Xbox, like a backbone or like whatever competitor. I think it's something that they think that they've just immaculately made when it's already been done multiple times. And
Yeah,
I mean,
like
the whole thing of the Wii U was play your games away from the TV. That's literally what Reggie started with,
mhm.
during the Wii U presentation. And Jim Ryan's like, we're always looking to improve. We're always looking to, innovate. And it's like, yeah, you cut you cut a controller that's perfectly fine in half and put a screen in it. Like,
It feels like innovation at this point is how easily can I play this on the toilet?
yes, yeah, that's. And a white controller is not smart. I mean, like, yeah, the Switch OLED is white, but like, still, it launched with red and blue. That's better, you know.
I'll wait for the brown edition.
The brown edition, yeah, the pastel brown Joy Cons. Let's go. Yeah, but that's enough of my old man ranting. Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in for another episode. You can check us out Thursday, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We might be a little bit slower with the episodes during the summer. We're both very busy, but we will be sure to have better communication on our YouTube channel. Yeah, well, peace out, everyone.
And remember, it's dangerous to go alone.